Now comes the time, my favorite times in the program. And this is there's so many highlights, but this is like really a highlight. Every year we focus on our Texas Regional President of Phi Theta Kappa. Phi Theta Kappa is, of course, the honor society for two-year colleges. And we love hearing the encouraging words from our young leaders, their enthusiasm, but also how impressed we are with all that they do. And this evening, I am pleased to announce that we have Fadi Istelinides, born in Amman, Jordan, and moved to Texas in 2010. After completing an associate degree, he plans to pursue a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and a Master of Science in Aerospace Engineering. So please help me welcome this year's Texas President, Fadi Istelinides. And Fadi is from Collin College, Preston Ridge.
Let me take you back to October 27th of last year. Registration for the current spring semester was about to open, so all of the classes were listed on my class schedule. I signed in, entered the first course number that I needed to take, and was welcomed with a long page for this one course with several professors who were teaching it. Before I knew it, my autopilot system kicked in. I clicked Control-T to open a new tab. I typed rate in my search bar, and my website and my laptop knew the rest. I clicked enter, and there it was, the website that would make my registration process somewhat easier, ratemyprofessor.com. Now I have come to learn that professors are not the biggest fans of this website, and I completely understand why. If there was a Rate My Student website, then none of us students would be in school. But allow me to tell you why I use Rate My Professor. See, I do not care about the rating next to the professor's name. I know that the professor's rating can be affected by the difficulty of the material, the course, or the student's opinion towards the workload. That does not matter to me. What matters to me is what is said about the professor in those reviews. There are three main qualities I have learned to look for in a professor through those reviews: clarity, enthusiasm, and humor. These help me get the most out of my learning experience. The first quality that I look for is clarity, which I believe is the most important one. A professor who is clear in their teaching can be confident that their students understand the lessons. This is crucial for me because the clearer my professors are in their teaching, the less time I have to spend outside of class reteaching myself the same material. Therefore, the more time I have to master the concepts. In the fall 2017 semester, I had the pleasure of taking Calculus 2 with Dr. Geller, a mathematics professor at Collin College. Dr. Geller took the clarity of his teaching to a whole nother level. After reflecting on Dr. Geller's successful teaching methods, I noticed a routine that he used. First things first, coffee. I bet that's on everyone's schedule. He then proceeded to open the textbook and start lecturing on a new chapter. The lecture began with the title of the chapter written on the board, followed by the formula or the theorem. Dr. Geller then made a connection for us between the topic and the real world. When that wasn't possible, he connected as much of the lesson as he could to the previous chapter to make it more comprehensible. Following the introduction of the concept, Dr. Geller solved a few example problems on the board to show us the correct way of applying it. Then he answered any questions we had for him. Later on, he provided us with practice problems to solve on our own to check our understanding of the concept. As we worked on the problem, he walked around the room to answer all of our questions. Once we were done, Dr. Geller told us to check our answers with our classmates. This type of collaboration between the students allowed for a peer tutoring opportunity, which many of us not only benefited from, but also enjoyed. Dr. Geller had an innovative method of receiving feedback from us on how we felt about the concept. He told us to raise our hands, and using our fingers, give him a number from 1 to 5 that demonstrated our understanding of the concept. 1 being, is this even a math problem? And 5 being, I don't have a problem teaching this to another student. If the overall feedback was good, he proceeded to the next concept. If the overall feedback was bad, Dr. Geller asked those who did not understand the lesson for more information. Once the majority of the class had a proper understanding of the concept, he proceeded to the next one. Additionally, Dr. Geller welcomed those who needed more help to stay after class or visit him during his office hours. Towards the middle of the semester, I began to notice how Dr. Geller tailored his answers to the questions based on the students who asked the question. I realized that he had learned the students' different learning styles, and he came up with innovative methods to make the concept more understandable for each student. Before signing up for the class, I knew I was going to enjoy it because of my love for math. However, I would not have acquired the deep understanding or have been able to master the concepts in Calculus 2 if it wasn't for Dr. Geller's clear teaching style. In fact, I enjoyed his class so much that I took Calculus 3 with him the following semester. Spoiler alert, the class was just as good, but it was even more fun because it's calculus in 3 dimensions. While clarity is the first quality that I look for in a professor, it is not the only one. The second quality I look for is enthusiasm. Professors who are enthusiastic about the subjects they are teaching will have better chances in making their students excited about them too, and maybe inspire a passion. I have had several enthusiastic professors thus far in my college career, but there is one professor who comes to mind when I think of enthusiasm. Ironically, I have never met this professor. I've only watched him give talks through my smartphone. He wasn't even my professor. Despite all of this, he was able to stimulate my interest towards astronomy in a way that made me more passionate about it than ever before. The professor I am talking about is Dr. Neil Degrasse Tyson. During the summer after my senior year in high school, I spent a lot of my free time watching YouTube videos. I still do that today, but that's irrelevant to the story. One day I was watching a ton of videos. I opened the YouTube app when my phone was fully charged, and I was only forced out of the app when my phone died. If you haven't done a YouTube video marathon before, which I honestly do not recommend, there's this stage in the marathon called YouTube rabbit hole. This is the stage where you have watched so many YouTube videos without interruptions that you find yourself watching one that you would have never thought you would be watching. It's a really fascinating experience, as long as you land on the right video. Well, lucky me, I landed on a talk by Dr. Tyson. It was the Q&A section of his talk at a university. One audience member asked, "How long do you think it will take us to get to another galaxy?" As Dr. Tyson wanted to give the audience member a very elaborate answer, he declared her question to be the last one in the Q&A. In order to help you understand why this was such a life-changing experience for me, let me just tell you a little bit about my knowledge of astronomy at the time. It was non-existent. I took an Earth and Space Science class in high school. Though I found it to be very interesting, I never really grasped some of the fundamental astronomical facts. I did not have a good understanding of size scales of planets, stars, galaxies, etc. I am more of a visual learner, but none of my teachers to that point had given me a good example to understand of the size of objects in space. Fortunately, I found myself falling through the YouTube rabbit hole at the right time. Going back to the audience member's question, Dr. Tyson began explaining the scale of our solar system. I was able to tell by his facial expression that he was very excited to answer the question. He explained how the fastest spacecraft ever launched at the time, which was Voyager 1, left the solar system nearly 35 years after its launch. It is moving at 35,000 miles per hour. If Voyager 1 was launched towards the closest star, Proxima Centauri, which is about 4 light years away, it would take Voyager 80,000 years to get there. So it would cover a distance of 4 light years in 80,000 years. Now the diameter of our galaxy, the Milky Way, is about 100,000 light years across. It would take Voyager around 2 billion years to cross our galaxy. Even if we were able to travel at the speed of light, which is impossible, it would take us 100,000 years to get there from the perspective of those on Earth. The nearest galaxy to the Milky Way, called Andromeda, is about 2 million light years away. All of this to say that we will by no means be leaving our galaxy anytime soon. Although I could have read all of this information long before stumbling upon this video, I would have not received the same learning experience as I did by listening, watching, and sensing Dr. Tyson's passion and enthusiasm towards astronomy that he showed in his answer. He transformed a few scientific, mathematical, and historical facts into scenarios that challenged the mind and fostered the imagination. I can easily say the video influenced my life because it made me want to become an aerospace engineer to try to further space exploration. Needless to say, enthusiasm is an important quality that I look for in a professor. But there's one more quality that I look for along with clarity and enthusiasm: humor. There are certain times in a classroom when the stress levels are too high. This could be the result of complicated material being covered or a difficult exam being reviewed. In a situation like this, students can become aggravated. Speaking from experience, it's one of those moments where my life begins flashing before my eyes. In the summer of 2017, registration opened for the fall semester. I was excited for all of my classes except one, chemistry. Back in high school, I was required to take chemistry my sophomore year. I don't remember much from that class, but I do remember that I did not enjoy it at all. I did not understand the material, it was not interesting to me, and I did not care about my grades at the time. However, I did not let that bad experience influence the one that I was going to have at college. Surprisingly, everything was going great in General Chemistry 1 until a week before the second exam. It was a normal class day. I had my regular breakfast, I arrived before the class started, I took notes throughout the entire lecture, and I was focused. But then, I found myself in a situation that I've never experienced before. My mind just switched off. I could no longer pay attention to what my professor said. I was not able to comprehend any of it. I suddenly came to the realization that this has happened because of the amount of difficult material we were covering in a short amount of time. Though I continued to write notes, I did not know what I wrote down. After a few minutes, my professor, Dr. Madhu, saw the confusion on all of the students' faces. It is fair to say that we were all so shocked and so locked into the lecture, we did not notice we were all feeling the same way. After he looked at us, he said, "Does that make sense?" And that prompted all of us to look at each other for reassurance. Dr. Madhu then just started laughing. Just laughing. This caused all of us to laugh too, almost uncontrollably. It was the perfect medicine for such an uncomfortable situation. That's it. That was all we needed. A short break, probably fewer than 10 seconds, during which we were able to de-stress and realize that the professor understood the situation about our difficulty understanding the material. Dr. Madhu transformed the material by using his comedic tactic during difficult lectures, and he even shared light-hearted fictional stories that connected to the topic. This tactic made his class so enjoyable, it made me like learning the subject a lot more, so I decided to take General Chemistry 2 with him the next semester. Clarity, enthusiasm, and humor. These are the three main qualities I have learned to look for in a professor to get the most out of my learning experience. Rate my professor is by no means the only determining factor for me as to which professor I take. It is simply a tool that I use to help me find professors who will provide the best learning experience. As I conclude, I would just like to take a moment to thank you all sincerely for being here. It brings me so much joy, motivation, and inspiration to see those who I am learning from try to enhance my learning experience. If y'all did not know it already, you are all superheroes to me and to my fellow classmates. You have this super ability to help us comprehend concepts and master them, and you always have our best interests at heart. As a wise person once said, not all superheroes have capes. Some have teaching degrees. Thank you.
Fadi, thank you so much. We have such incredible students, and that just highlights just one. One more group I did want to recognize this evening, and they are probably one of the hardest working people I know because they give up so much time on their weekends and holidays many times to work with our students. Tonight we have a large group of Phi Theta Kappa advisors with us, and of course, I introduced already Dr. Lynn Titchener-Ladner, a true transformational leader and servant leader. We also have Susan and Jeff Edwards. Susan is the Associate Vice President of Honors Programming and Undergraduate Research for Phi Theta Kappa International at the headquarters. And she actually was a TCCTA president. And then her husband, Jeff, was on the executive committee. And he actually was in line to be a president and actually moved to Mississippi, and they ended up getting married and lived happy ever after. But we also have Mary Linder. Mary Linder is our Texas Regional Coordinator. And so she leads all of our Texas, I think we have about 88 chapters in the state of Texas. Is that about? 92, awesome. Okay, a couple more than I knew. But anyway, so we appreciate the hard work. And if all of our Phi Theta Kappa advisors would please stand, and I think a couple of students joined them too, you guys could stand as well. Thank y'all so much for being here. You know, they help our students not only with service, fellowship, leadership, and scholarship. And they help them with just personal skills too, as so many of us do, that we meet students with so many needs. And so they're there with heart and spirit to help those students overcome life obstacles. But another thing that I wanted to point out too, Texas plays a huge role in Phi Theta Kappa International. So I looked at the stats on the top 10 chapters over the past 5 years. Over the past 5 years, Texas has led the way as the most distinguished chapter over the last 5 years. And that's a picture up there of Grayson Community College. Grayson Community College was last year's most distinguished chapter, so we are so excited about that. But also our Texas chapters, and actually the international chapters, they have played a role in founding and starting over 300 food pantries. They realize the need of our students who have food and housing insecurities. So they're working on things like that, tutoring, mentoring programs. And then with Honors in Action, they do anything from cancer research to working in the hospitals or studying connectivity as far as technology and how that's transformed the world, and true scholarly projects that they're working on. It's really incredible. Also, they were the ones that started the Community College Completion Corps. They started looking at completion in 2010, 2011, before most of our colleges did. Now that C4 challenge that they do, that has now become part of the culture on many community colleges, and it's just part of a new student orientation and having students sign banners, and those banners hang across campuses. And now not only that, they're also leading the way in looking at transformation. When we talk about completion, now we're not just talking about degrees and certificates. Now we're also talking about students in their career and where they need to be. They also have a program, and it was called Competitive Edge, and I think it's changing. Is that one that has a new? No, it's same name. But it works on, we call soft skills, but actually we know they're marketable skills that all students need: communication, writing, and all these other things, building your resume. but they are really on the forefront of doing so many things that all of us talk about and we hear at conferences. So that's why I wanted to include them in this convention, because when we talk about innovate, collaborate, and transform, Phi Theta Kappa is doing that in our colleges and across our campuses. They're working with our administrators, and they're helping those students who don't have the support to be successful. So we appreciate what each and every one of you do. Thank you so much.